SCV chat starts now.
Hey.
Hello there.
I cannot express this enough this evening. If I say it once tonight, I will say it a million times, and I'm going to ask Harrison to just keep it scrolling on the bottom of the screen. But the views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are not necessarily those of the SCV, GC, nor any division, brigades, or camps or other subsidiaries, strictly those of us expressing them, especially because tonight is a current events night. We're going to talk about some current events, some stuff that's happening within the Southland. We kind of did that a couple weeks ago, and we're going to give our opinions on some of this. Some of it is good news, and some of it is I find it very, very interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Before we get kicked off, though, let's hello to everybody in the chat. Andrew Luck, our newest Patreon member, is in the YouTube world. Kyle is here, and he is not 20 minutes late this time.
Dude, I don't know what to do.
Well, he's out of the running for the tardiness award, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, just golly, past Commander-in-Chief Chuck McMichael is worn out from the Battle of Jefferson, Texas this past weekend. Looked like it was a good event. David Pope is still here from the beautiful Eastern Tennessee, representing the Longstreet Zollicoffer Camp number 87. Derek, good to see you in. Jason and Lloyd, we're going to do a little bit of talk about the Commonwealth tonight, so feel free to chirp on in. Dr. Sandy Mitchum, greetings to Northeast Louisiana from Central Mississippi. And well, Kyle, that's what you get for being, you being on time. Anyway, hello, Moose.
Of Kyle being on time, I feel like we should just call the show here. It's only going to go downhill from here.
Well, I have a question for you. How was the Heritage? Not Heritage. Excuse me. How was the National Pilgrimage to Elm Springs?
It was good. I had a good time visiting with Adam and my official, probably my father, Jason Boshears.
Could be. I mean, it could be, or could not be.
Could not be. I mean, it's a very good question. I've been trying to get him to submit to a DNA test for years, and he just won't do it. But I had a good time visiting with them, and of course, I always have a good time going up and doing some stuff for SCV Chat, like filming the pilgrimage and stuff like that. It's always fun and interesting.
Well, I could not attend this year. Friday night I had to speak at a camp in Mendenhall, Mississippi, and gave my Barksdale talk. And hold on one second, I need to mute my mic for a second.
No, Adam keeps promising a personal tour of Elm Springs in the museum for me, but he refused. My arms aren't short enough. We'll see. You get some things from your parents, you get some things from others. That
What?
Just someone saying my arms aren't short enough to be Jason's kids, but watch. Identical, right?
Identical.
Roar.
Huh. Anyway, we had a good. I spoke about my Barksdale talk. I've redone the talk. If you remember, I gave it last year on chat for the first time after 14 years of research, and I finally compiled all my notes and all my research, and it's now up to 48 pages. And I'm quite happy with it. Hold on a second.
Faversham to the lovely Carl Jones. See, I mean, like, let me just tilt the. See, I mean, look. I look just like Jason in any meeting Jason's at. Can you hear me in the back? You're muted, Connor.
Yeah, I know. I forgot to unmute myself. Sorry. The female friend was sending me something. So she comes in first place these days. Yeah, so I couldn't make. Plus, I was spending some time with her, so it was very good weekend. Spending some time, being able to relax a little bit. I hate that I missed it. It was my first pilgrimage to miss, but maybe next week. Yeah, it does come with a necessity ledge. But before we get kicked off on tonight's episode, we do have our new segment. Carl Jones, our official weather person for SCV Chat, has sent us his weather report for this evening.
I mean, what do you want to do about it? Look, I got to do a weather report. Take the doggone truck and go get him out of the ditch. Sorry, man, I forgot why I was here.
Thank you, Carl, for that lovely weather report. What's the matter, Moose?
I quit.
Well, it looks like we broke Moose again. He needs to get used to these weather reports. Of course, last week's weather report was spot on and accurate with it being it's about to be dark. So thank you again, Carl, for that lovely weather report. Hopefully we'll have an update later on in the show. To get back to topic for tonight, though, I'm sure, I hope everybody saw on, I think it was Saturday the 2nd, out of the Commonwealth of Virginia, that Governor Youngkin, well, first let me backtrack. Let me duplicate this tab. I thought I had everything pulled up, but I didn't. And Moose is back. So a little bit of update for everybody. Virginia House Bill 1699 was introduced in this year to the General Assembly there in Virginia, and it was aimed to regulate public displays of Confederate symbols monument. No, that is not it. That is a wrong bill. Virginia HB. Essentially, what it would do was about tax-exempt Confederate organizations, and it would, the summary text as introduced, tax-exempt Confederate organization eliminates the exemption from state taxes for the Virginia division of the United Daughters of the Confederacy, eliminates the tax-exempt designation for real and personal property owned by the Virginia division, United Daughters of the Confederacy, the General Organization of the United Daughters of the Confederacy, the Confederate Memorial Literary Society, the Stonewall Jackson Memorial Incorporated, the Virginia Division Sons of Confederate Veterans, and the Jeb Stuart Birthplace Preservation Trust, which are all things that are they're all Confederate entities. Governor Youngkin on the 2nd vetoed this bill, and this is the governor's veto message with it. Pursuant to Article 5, Section 6 of the Constitution of Virginia, I veto House Bill 1699, eliminating tax exemptions for specific organizations. The Commonwealth should pass necessary reforms regarding exemptions from local property and recordation taxes. Historically, the Constitution of Virginia permitted the Virginia Assembly to grant exemptions from local taxation to specific nonprofit organizations through classification and or designation, with a 3/4 vote in each chamber. In 2003, a constitutional amendment altered the process to ordinance-based exemptions, but those established before January 1st, 2003 remain in force. The property tax exemption by designation is ripe for reform, delineated by inconsistencies and discrepancies. Specific civic organizations and for-profit businesses are exempted, while others are not. Among these groups, some organizations have titles offensive in contemporary discourse, such as the outdated reference to the intellectual and developing disabled. Some organizations reference political affiliation and engage in political contributions, like Ocean View Democratic and Social Club, while others have historical societies whose lineage is connected to very divisive periods of history, such as the Civil War, illustrated by the United Daughters of the Confederacy. Narrowly targeting specific organizations, this is the key portion. Narrowly targeting specific organizations to gain or lose such tax exemptions sets an inappropriate precedent. Initially, the General Assembly granted exemptions through a 3/4 vote of both chambers, but now a simple majority can revoke them. Choosing winners and losers is imprudent and undermines the tax system's fairness, and more effectively approach to reform would involve broad-based measures, allowing local governments autonomy for determining tax exemption and considering the locality's tax base and deed transfers. These considerations would be permitted when a county or city sets its real estate tax levy, helping to reduce effective tax increase through assessments. Unfortunately, the General Assembly rejected my recommendation, which would have accomplished broad-based reform to address this issue for tax exemption effectively. Accordingly, I vetoed this bill. So that is some good news out of the Commonwealth of Virginia, that Youngkin did veto the bill, and he says in there that just because you are a Confederate-linked organization doesn't mean that you should be treated any differently. It doesn't mean that you should be specifically targeted for. You still got the disclaimer thrown across the bottom right there, Miss. I can't see. Yes.
Yeah, it's still there.
Specifically targeted because you are a Confederate organization, or just because whatever political party is in power at that time, you hold a disagreement with their philosophy, ideology, or even name, which is good, which is correct. And of course, as we know, UDC national headquarters is there in Richmond. And we remember, them being attacked in 2020. I don't know the financial implications. If all of a sudden, they had to pay taxes on their headquarters buildings, I don't know what that would happen, but I imagine it would hurt tremendously. Just like here in Mississippi, if all of a sudden the Mississippi Division lost its tax exempt status or charitable status with the state, that we would then be up a creek without a paddle.
Oh, yeah.
With our finances, but Youngkin made the correct decision. So the defeat of this. So my pre-thoughts. Y'all make sure y'all are sharing this episode out. We got kind of a low attendance right now.
Mm-hmm.
But this bill introduced during the 2025 General Assembly session sought to impose stringent regulations on our organizations. Governor Youngkin, veto, blah, blah, blah. The defeat of the bill is a powerful stand for historical integrity and the principles of local control. Youngkin rejected an additional 150 some odd bills. But it was a steadfast commitment to safeguarding Virginia's interest, or at least ours. And it also aligns with values that we cherish in the South. But this victory, while it is a victory in Virginia, and I really applaud everybody who reached out to the governor's office via emails, calls, whatever, or even to the General Assembly. So that's I do applaud them. But this is Virginia, because of certain areas in the state right outside the federal capital, has been a primarily blue state. If you watched our election night coverage on our other channel,
it was close.
We kept a good eye on Virginia until those counties in the northern part of the state came in, and and Virginia is it is one state. It's an Upper Dixie, and of course we love all of our compatriots up there, including our Lieutenant Commander Chief. I don't know if he's watching or not. But it's usually, I've seen a lot of stuff, or we've seen a lot of stuff start up in Virginia and then work its way down into the deep South. And we need to be ever vigilant on our toes. The Virginia Assembly is probably going to try again to, do something along this nature. And Youngkin cannot run for reelection. He's out of office. I think they have an election in November. This is a time for us to all, be on our P's and Q's, minding what we do. Because this victory is not just a victory in that one state. It's a beacon of hope, but also a beacon of warning.
Yes.
The fight to preserve our heritage is intensifying. Now, granted, we've talked about some great things. This is a great shot in the arm. It is a W. We talked about that county in North Carolina that removed their contextualization plaques, and the monuments, back to normal for now. We're seeing stuff happen all throughout the South, monuments going up, monuments being re-erected, things of that nature. But, the war, the culture war that we're in, their culture versus our culture to try to destroy our history, even though it may be, kind of, we may look and it's kind of, calmed down since 2022. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's still a very intense thing. Meanwhile, in other states are still trying to ban and restrict Confederate symbols in public spaces. So we're seeing it, but this is a southern state. So we all need to be on our P's and Q's. We need to be watching everything. We cannot at this time afford to be complacent. And we've said it once on this channel. We've said it 100 times. We need to be watching what's happening in our local communities. The veto of HB 1699 is a cause for celebration, but it's also a call to prepare for the next challenges ahead. And you think back at the war, we would win one battle and then, the Yankees would, especially in the East, the Yankees would retreat back to Washington, and a couple months later they'd come back and they'd try to come back harder and harder and harder and harder. And it's the same thing, they may be licking their wounds right now, but you better believe they're trying to figure out a way to get back to us. Just like how in Mississippi, for example, in 2001 we beat 67% to 33% on the flag fight. And we thought it would just go away. But, in 2015 and in 2020, things ginned back up and, we lost our flag. So that's the thing. We cannot sit back, be complacent, and rest on our laurels. Now's the time for us to continue on. I don't know what states still have their legislatures in session, but, definitely when they go in session, be watching. Mississippi is more than likely going to have a special session called here within the next couple of weeks for some budgetaries. Luckily, with our state constitution, the legislature can only vote on things that the governor sets forth on the agenda. So unless the governor decides to do something completely crazy, which I don't see happening, knock on wood, we should be safe through the special session. But you better believe we're going to have our eyes open on it.
We have to. We've lost the ability to be able to, we've won the battle. Let's just sit back and wait. We've lost that ability.
Right. But that's the thing we have, but we've got to keep our eyes open for the next front, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. They're going to try to get in Virginia, but you know what? They're also going to try probably in North Carolina next legislative session, if I had to guess. And try to roll both bills out of there. That's. I hate to be a pessimist. I'm not really a pessimist. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm not the, like John the Baptist, a prophet of the wilderness screaming. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope that, this just up and dies. But, given what we've seen happen over the past several years, it's probably not. So we need to be very aware as it starts coming down the eastern seaboard towards us.
And I think it's going to hit all the South. I mean, you said it. This bill specifically attacked Confederate heritage organizations.
Yeah.
Us, the UDC, multiple other ones. And if they get it passed in Virginia, just wait. It will come up to the point where the whole SCV is being taxed, the whole UDC, every other Confederate heritage organization that's a nonprofit all of a sudden doesn't have that.
And it's kind of ironic that it's on the issues our ancestors fought on: states' rights, state sovereignty, and it's the state tax exempt status that's being threatened, and not the federal yet. Knock on wood. Although I'm sure I'm not even going to mention it.
Well, I'm sure they'll get the idea from Virginia.
Yeah. Well, I have hope for the current national administration. I would like to see, Congress step up and like that executive order that he signed last month. I hope that Congress will step up and codify that. But I think that hopefully with this Doge stuff that maybe, just maybe, they're focused on getting their neck off the American taxpayer and not looking at charitable organizations, because that was one thing that the previous administration did, was looked at charitable organizations like churches and stuff like that did not follow their ideology, and began trying to help target them and certain people as well. But we need to watch our own state legislatures because they will likely be trying to push similar bills at some point in the future. The preservation
expect it to get worse, because I mean, this has been keeping me up, and I'm not even a Virginian.
Right. Yeah, and Jason makes a good point. Fortunately, North Carolina conservatives control their legislature for now. And Jason says this was a second attempt this year to eliminate tax exempt. Last year in Virginia, they also went after the SAR, DAR, and other organizations, along with the UDC and the SCV, which kind of goes back to what we've said in the past. We're just the low hanging fruit, and they'll throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I mean, at least this time they just targeted us, trying to strike us first.
Yeah, they tried it the first time and tried to get everybody they wanted, but it's just the clear destruction of American history and destroying those who have sworn to preserve and protect it. As soon as you get rid of organizations like ours, like the UDC, like SAR, like DAR, we're kind of, these historical organizations have turned into, from we're just helping preserve it to the last line of defense.
Right. Which I'll get into that when we go to our second portion. And if any of our Patreons are watching, we do have the Patreon chat open. We're trying to check in between, or I'm trying to check between different tabs and stuff right now. But Harrison's pulling it up so we can all, talk at the same time. And if you want to join our Patreon, scvchat.com/ or is it slash?
It's
scvchat.com, how to help us.
Hit the support button.
Yeah, support, that's it. But the preservation of our heritage is not guaranteed. It requires activity and sustained effort from each one of us. And that's on every level, the camp, the individual level, the camp level, the brigade level, the division level, the army level, and the national level. We all have to be paying attention, especially on the camp level, because camp and individual level, because you are our eyes and ears in the local community. The national level cannot wave a magic wand and fix your problems. If you are in Biloxi, Mississippi, which is 8 hours away from headquarters, national cannot just pick up stakes and then come down there and try to help you out. They don't know your culture of your geographic area. They don't know the background of your geographic area. They don't know the places in your geographic area. And that's why it's important for us to be in our communities. And on the second segment of the show, when we talk about something else, then you'll understand why, and I'll pull it up and show you. As for our 5-0, yeah, go ahead.
Talking about communities in the next part, you said?
Well, it's something else, but it comes up. I'll tell you during.
Okay, I got something on communities I want to bring out there when the time is right.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you. The next portion deals with a certain oxymoronic organization. It's not Southern, they're not broke, and they're not a legal center. That's how I'm going to refer to them. And if you can figure out who I'm talking about, they have put out their entire playbook online on how to remove a Confederate monument, and we'll be bringing that up.
Oh, I need that link
after the break. But before we get to that, as for our 501c3 chapters, or camps rather, and then of course I say chapters for any organizations that's listening, as well as especially anybody who's not affiliated with the SCV and they're thinking about joining, they're hearing about this, and this may be the first episode they're watching. Chapters or camps, or what we call our camps, that's our terminology for it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be very careful, as we've said before, in navigating the IRS's regulations. We cannot endorse candidates or engage in partisan political campaigns. However, we can and should participate, in my views and opinion, in issue-based advocacy to protect our heritage. Our camps can educate the public by hosting seminars, distributing fact-based materials, or maintaining websites that explain the historical significance of different monuments, symbols, as well as our organization and what we do. We can submit public comments on proposed legislation to state or local governments, emphasizing the cultural and historical value of preserving our landmarks, our organizations, and our history. Additionally, our camps can partner with other historical preservation groups to amplify, especially other veteran rights organizations, to amplify our voice, provided these efforts remain nonpartisan and focused on our mission. By organizing community events such as heritage festivals, monument rededication ceremonies, Confederate heritage, different events, whether it's a memorial service or if you have a Confederate heritage banquet or a Lee Jackson banquet or something like that, and inviting the local community, these help us advance our cause. The next thing that we can do is, as individuals, we have greater flexibility to act. First and foremost, get informed on what your legislation or legislative branch of government or county or parish government, how they operate. As Chuck McMichael said, there are various legislative portals on almost every state's website where you can go and you can search key legislation by keywords. I'll give you an example right here. I'm trying to pull it up. Y'all give me 1 minute. Moose, see if there are any comments, because I can't read. I'm looking at something. I mean, I can read. I'm just again.
I know, it caught me off guard. I can't read. I was like, well, I mean, it happens. Yeah, no. Community support is a must to have these small victories that lead into huge victories, and that's something I have tried to really stress. Is please get out your community and do what you have to get out in your community.
So this is the Mississippi legislative website. This is just a report of all measures. So if we went and search CONFER, I cannot type one-handed. And evidently I can't backspace anymore. All right, fine. Well, dang nabbit, I'll refresh the tab. More than one way to skin a cat.
That there is.
Now, how we skin it is something else. But anyway, the state's website's not going to cooperate with me clearly. But you go in there, and like I said, each state is different, each county is different, each parish is different. So go through and work on getting it searched, and search on look at bills. So that's thing number one. Get informed on that. Rewatch your Schoolhouse Rock, how a bill becomes law. But follow what they're doing. If your division does not have a legislative committee, Mississippi has one. We're in the middle of revamping our entire heritage ops program, so that we have somebody that is their job is to watch legislation, and they have a good relationship with several legislators and trying to influence policies on that end, on the front end.
And we desperately we desperately needed someone like that.
Yeah.
And I think everybody does. And I hope that your heritage operations already has a department for that. But if not, now would be the time, because we are going to continue to get these attacks via legislation.
Yeah. So, but that's the first thing is track bills that could impact, historical monuments or symbols or tax status or whatever you have. Remember that knowledge is power, and we have two major bullets in our arsenal. We have the truth of history, and we have money. And they're trying to do away with the second bullet. But of course, knowledge is power, and understand the specifics of proposed legislation. So when you read the bill, make sure you read it. And if you've got to run it through AI to condense it and copy it all and condense it and get it put into non-legalese terms, do that. But also make sure in your knowledge and your understanding is that you have a history, let's say, of the Wayne County monument there in Wayne County, obviously Mississippi. I know y'all have y'all's history of y'all's monument. You know exactly who owns the monument, where the funds came from, everything like that. Just in case something comes up, you have that available, and you can help dispute any claims about, well, this person owns it or this person owns it. Make sure you have as much information on whatever in your community will come up for attack. And make sure you know that and you are an expert on it. But that's the first thing is follow bills, and then follow bills. Make sure you understand your particular legislative bodies, how they operate, things like that. Make sure you know who your county rep, or like in Mississippi, your House of Representative member is, as well as your state senator. You may not get something on one side, but you may can get work on the other, because the House and the Senate have to work together to make the bill a law and present it to the governor, and then go up to the governor and try to get him to veto it if they still pass it, like what happened in Virginia. So when you know who they are, engage directly with them. Write letters or emails, calls, things of that nature. Remember, be polite in whatever you're sending.
Yes.
National has the one-click politic. If it's a sure enough big thing, follow your chain of command to get that. But if you need to use it, I'm sure National doesn't mind helping people use it. The next big thing is attend the meetings. Try to find out if it's on your local level and it's your county board of supervisor or your parish board of supervisors or city council or whatever. If you're finding out that something is happening, you need to be there. But before that, how about you try going to begin with? Because usually they'll bring stuff up, or they'll talk about stuff in the meeting that'll be on the next meeting. People in government love to meet to talk about the next meeting. I know, because I had one of those today. But even if you just show up, excuse me, and nothing is going on, it's still good for you to have a voice, or at least an ear on what you're hearing in the community. But be clear, be respectful, and be specific, and share personal stories about what our heritage means to us when you have to oppose different bills or resolutions or things like that. And fourth, or next, is connect with others. Make sure that you are working with your local events, or not local events, excuse me, your local other organizations, either being veterans' rights or historical societies, churches, Masonic lodges, Lions Club, Rotary clubs, Kiwanis, International Order of Oddfellows, the Moose, the Elks, whatever other civic organizations are out there. Make sure that you are working with them. Get in with them quick. Exchange clubs. Get in with them quick, fast, and in a hurry if you are not already. The support of these organizations to help defend our history is very, very, very important. Recruit friends, family members, and neighbors to join the cause. Educate your community. Share stories of our ancestors. Share stories of, like, where my camp is located. Most of the guys came from Company I of the 6th Mississippi Infantry. So, tell their stories, because you never know. You may have somebody there who was in the part of that unit. Harrison, did you have somebody in the Wayne Rifles?
Yes, I did.
All right. See, there we go. And there are other descendants of those men there in your local community. So know that. But be proactive. Do not be reactive. Because the next battle could be in your community, in your town, in your state, whatever.
Yeah, and this is what I wanted to bring up earlier. California has worked hard to get out in their community to the point where a mayor and a vice mayor has asked them to help in that community's big event. And I could not stress it more important. If it can happen in California, that an elected official wants to be seen with the division commander of the California division, it can happen here. We just have to work for it.
Good. Well, Carl has sent us another weather update. Let's see what he's got to say.
Please.
Guess the weather's not going to weather. Thank you, Carl. But that kind of moves us into the next portion of tonight's discussion on current events. The group that is not Southern, they're not broke, and they are not a legal center.
They stared into my soul.
Good. If
creepy.
Sorry. That particular group has since about, this is their 4th edition of a project that they call Whose Heritage Is It? And I'll bring it up in a second. And it's a report that they came out with of April of 2025. And of course, looking at it, we're getting a bird's eye view into what our enemies are thinking. But the people who want to destroy our heritage and defame our ancestors, the ones leading the charge against us, although behind the scenes at times, but definitely involved. What they want, it's literally their game plan of destroying us, and it's an eye into their mind and how they're thinking. So their key report and key finding data. The 2025 report from them reveals that over 2,000 Confederate symbols remain in public spaces nationwide. And that over 2,000 is correct, but it's very vague. If you go on that one particular site, they have a listing of monuments and schools and street names, and it is not complete, thank God. I was going through there and looking through some of the ones in Mississippi, and they do not have full access, or not full access, but a full listing, which is good for us because, a certain other group can go on that website and look and see that, oh, there's a monument over here in this podunk area. I'm going to go and hit it with a truck, or I'm going to go and paint it, or, something like that. Because they don't have a full listing of our memorials, that is a blessing in and of itself, but also shows just how ignorant they are. So that's good. But that remain in public spaces nationwide, including nearly 900 monuments dedicated to Confederate figures or ideals, hundreds of places named in honor of Confederate leaders, and other symbols like state flags or holidays. Since the 2015 shooting at the church in Charleston, 482 Confederate symbols have been removed or renamed, including 287 monuments, with significant waves of removals following events like the 2017 Charlottesville rally and the 2020 George Floyd events. However, and this is a good thing. However, the pace of removals have slowed, with only 17 symbols. And when they say symbols, they're referring to, if a battle flag's on a county or city seal, if a street was named after Jefferson Davis or Braxton Bragg or something like that, if a school was named after a Confederate hero or something like that. That's what they consider as symbols. They're not just talking about monuments, but 17 symbols were removed in 2024 as compared to 73 in 2020. There is a decrease, and especially a decrease in what's being done. Granted, I don't believe that street names or building names, things of that nature should be changed. I don't believe we should lose the holidays. I don't believe it should be removed from anything. But they're so desperate at this point because the tide is changing for us, and some of the things that we have reported on and that we have seen. And especially with the vast majority of the Gen Alpha being more conservative than the Zoomers, and especially more than us millennials. We are seeing that conservative and not politically conservative, but somewhat politically conservative. But that shifting more to traditional values and things of that nature, being shifted more this way than the previous generations. That's good. So that we see that as a victory, and we see that the monument again in North Carolina, for example, contextualization plaque being removed, or the previous mentioned veto of that bill being a victory for us. We're seeing more and more victories come up, legal victories and things of that nature. This is a very defeatist idea that they have. And of course, being defenders of Confederate history and heritage, we want to make sure that the symbols remain, as they are an integral part of Southern heritage and history. The monuments honor the sacrifice of Confederate soldiers, many of whom were ordinary men fighting for their homes and not political ideologues. The removal of the 482 symbols during the emotionally charged eras of 2015, 2017, and 2020, they often happened without community consensus, and the communities are speaking out. The slowdown reflects a growing public recognition that erasing symbols in history risks sanitizing history, and each monument serves as a tangible link to our past as well as to our families. They continued on to the report, writing that Confederate symbols were not erected. Of course, that normal bull crap, that it was during Jim Crow era, the late 19th to the mid 20th century, to try to keep the status quo and promote the lost cause mythology and a revisionist narrative that portrays the Confederate as a noble defense of states' rights rather than a fight to preserve slavery. Direct quote from those people. Those people also argue that these symbols were strategically placed in prominent public spaces, such as courthouses and state capitals, to reinforce white supremacy and then to intimidate Black communities during periods of oppression. Of course, we all know that's a lie. We know that the delay in erecting Confederate monuments was primarily due to the South's severe economic devastation following the war between the states. It
took the Oxford UGC 14 years of fundraising to be able to afford the monument that was on campus. 14 years. And these were the wives of the trustees, professors, people in sororities. They had to keep doing fundraisers, multiple different types, just to get the money, because everything was destroyed nearly, and we were in an economic turmoil. But they won't tell you about that. They'll just say we waited because we just are evil people and we all belong. I don't know if I could say that on there.
Oh yeah, that we're evil and we're all going to hell and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Our views and opinions of their views and opinions of us. It's estimated that the economic impact of the war on the South was roughly 5.2 billion in economic losses, which is the equivalent to over 100 billion today. We had a destroyed infrastructure, agriculture, livestock, being done, reconstruction policies and economic recessions during, especially during Grant's administration, further delayed our recovery, making large scale monuments projects financially unfeasible until decades after the war. They also say that we just put monuments there, in certain areas to support, one ideology over another. And we know that that is wrong. Monuments were placed in historically significant locations, such as, Brandon, Mississippi, my hometown. The statue that's placed right now in the middle of Highway 80, it was placed there because when William T. Sherman in February of 1864 did his Forgotten Meridian campaign, he ordered his men to stack arms there. And when they stacked arms, they broke out or broke ranks. They lit torches and they burnt the town, and they stole pickles and they stole pickled vegetables and they stole livestock. And in fact, there's one report that J.J. Thornton, who is the only delegate to the Mississippi Secession Convention, who did not sign the Ordinance of Secession, who was present, but still, after his state seceded, or after Mississippi seceded, went on to fight in the 6th Mississippi Infantry, being severely wounded at the Battle of Shiloh and then discharged due to his wounds, was at home, and they heard about him and his, not voting for secession and not signing the document. They were going to spare his house, and he said, no, if you're going to burn my neighbors out, you're going to burn me out as well. And in the Brandon Republican newspaper, which was the only newspaper in the war reportedly not to miss an issue, A.J. France wrote that there was not even a single rooster to crow the coming dawn the next day. So that's why the foremothers, I should say, in Brandon decided to put the monument there. To honor what happened during the war, to honor the loss of the town, the economic devastation. And in fact, the Confederate soldier faces west, the way that the Federals marched, standing forever as a defiant guard over the city. Others were placed in prominent civic spaces like courthouses because they are memorials for public mourning and remembrance. Almost akin, or it is akin to Joshua chapter 4 in the Bible, where the stones were placed as a reminder of God's acts. And indeed, I would say that the fact that yes, we remember our fallen fathers and our forefathers and uncles, things of that nature, our ancestors, with those memorials, especially those who do not have stones and are buried in unmarked places known but to God, and will never be known until Christ comes again and the final judgment day and the resurrection of the body and everything like that. It is a testament to the fact that the South survived and we still survive today, and that is a miracle, and they don't understand that. And even then, you look in some northern towns and things like that, they have monuments to Yankee soldiers in those towns, and they're placed in similar locations. So what's up with that? You can't have one without the other.
Those were the good guys, though, Connor. Don't you know?
Yeah, no, they weren't. And I wish I could quote Reverend Dr. Herman White fully with his lines.
They were lines.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I need to get him to write that down for me.
I want that on a new SCV chat T-shirt.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's honestly how stupid these people are, or how hateful. Let me rephrase that. They just hate Southern history, hate us for defending it, hate our organizations for their purposes, and hate our Southern ancestors for standing up to do the exact same thing that our founders did with the American Revolution. And that's all they're powered by, soul-sucking hate. They wake up in the morning and they think, you know what? Today's the day we get them. And that's what's dangerous about them, folks. I'm making fun of them. That's honestly what's dangerous. They are willing to do whatever it takes because that's how much they hate us.
Yeah.
And that's why they portray us as these evil people that in hell, or why they put up Grant, Sherman as people who are like guarding the pearly gates right now.
Right.
Which is, I'm going to shut up.
Yeah. And Carl makes a good point that, black folks, including Booker T. Washington, who was very involved with the formation of the NAACP, and George Washington Carver donated money to the erection of Confederate monuments. The state Confederate monument in Mississippi, I believe it was John Harris, who was a representative, got up and gave a speech admitting that he was a Confederate soldier, and that, and paraphrasing the quote, but I'm pretty close to it, saying that, if the war was still going on, or he said, I wore the gray, and ... And if the war was still going on to this day, I would still be there. And he actually got out of his sick bed to argue against the son of a former Confederate soldier about the bill. But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want because that doesn't fit their narrative. But the report continues on, highlighting significant resistance to removing Confederate symbols, particularly in 7 southern states: Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. They pick different portions out of where laws or policies protect these symbols. These, quote, heritage protection laws impose penalties or bureaucratic hurdles for communities attempting to relocate or contextualize monuments. The non-Southern, non-broke, non-legal center criticizes the 2025 executive orders from the current administration in the federal capital for advocating the restoration of Confederate monuments, framing them as an attempt to whitewash history, unquote, and aligns them with a white nationalist rhetoric. But as we know, our heritage protection laws in the South reflects our efforts to preserve history and prevent the unilateral destruction of our culture. These laws ensure that decisions about monuments involve community input, or they should involve community input. At least that's the whole purpose behind them. Not mob actions or external pressures. You should, if you have a county monument on county land that's paid for by the taxpayers of the county, then the county should want to listen to what the people want. Case in point, Lafayette County in Mississippi. They had a listening session and they decided not to remove the monument. I wish more counties or parishes would agree to do that. They protect the rights of us, the basic citizens, to honor our ancestors. They help protect our fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution and within the Bill of Rights. The non-Southern, non-political, or excuse me, they are political, the non-Southern, non-broke, not legal center, the criticism of Trump's executive order ignores the broader context. These orders aim to counter the erasure of history and restore the balance to a national conversation that has vilified our ancestors. Far from whitewashing history, and the preserving of our monuments encourage honest discussions about the war between the states and its causes, including, taxes, individual rights, states' rights, things of that nature, without reducing it to a single myopic narrative view of oppression. In their report, they have updated their public map. And again, you can look at that, but it is not complete. Again, this particular tool that they are giving is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, if you do not have a listing of all monuments in your state, you can go through and kind of use this and build off of it. But on the other hand, groups who are domestic terrorists, in my humble opinion, read the disclaimer at the bottom, can use that same link to figure out what where a weakness is and try to exploit it. Gotta get my updated bottle of water. And so, just as much as it helps us, it hurts us. So, be careful on that. As far as broader implications, that organization argues that our symbols perpetuate harmful narratives and glorify the Confederacy, marginalizing other groups and other communities. These symbols are not neutral history artifacts, but active tools of division that uphold white supremacist ideologies. Removing or contextualizing them fosters a more inclusive public square and encourages honest reckoning with the nation's history. The report draws parallels the removal of colonial and authoritarian symbols globally, calling the public spaces to honor diverse histories. But as we know, Confederate monuments honor a diverse history. We had Protestants, Catholics, Jews, Gentiles, people of all different social, economic, and racial backgrounds making up the Confederate Army. The Confederate Army was the most diverse fighting force in the world at that time. The Confederate Navy as well. You had regiments that, again, I love the Frederick Douglass quote from 1861, where he says there are Black Confederate soldiers, not just serving as teamsters and as cooks and as laborers, but with rifles in their hands and bullets in their pockets. Those monuments honor them as much as they honor my direct ancestor. So, yeah. They fail to recognize and to realize that many of these monuments also serve as the only tombstone for thousands of veterans buried in unmarked or forgotten graves, like my third great uncle, who was a musician in the war, not a non-combatant. When not playing music, he was a stretcher bearer or a hospital steward, and he died in 1864, late 1864, early 1865. And we don't know where he's buried. He does not have a headstone. He has an inscription on his mama's grave, and he has the Copiah County Confederate Memorial serving as his headstone. Labeling these symbols as tools oversimplifies history, and it alienates Southerners who view them as part of our cultural identity. Removing them does not foster inclusion, but it erases a piece of the nation's shared history, risking a one-sided narrative that ignores the complexities of the war. Global comparisons to colonial or authoritarian symbols are also misleading, as Confederate monuments commemorate a regional, not imperial struggle. Public space, well, actually, it is an imperial struggle, the Yankee Empire struggle, so I guess I got that wrong when I was writing. Public spaces should indeed reflect diverse histories, but that should include our history, those of us who are descendants of men who would not be ruled. True reconciliation comes from preserving our monuments, not destroying them. In conclusion, the removal of nearly 500 symbols represents to us not progress in comparison to what they say, but a loss of our historical memory and a part of our culture and heritage. It's often driven by transient political pressure rather than from thoughtful consensus. Excuse me. We agree that public engagement is essential, but we advocate for preserving our monuments and as educational tools to spark discussion about the war and its many dimensions, be it economic, cultural, political, as well as talking and honoring our ancestors who fought in that war. That organization's push for equity in public spaces should not mean erasing one group's heritage to elevate another. A truly equitable historical narrative embraces all perspectives, including those of Southerners who see these monuments as a tribute to our ancestors' resilience. So that's the latest cultural, or at least current events that we have to cover. That being said, who's ready to see what's in our enemy's mind?
I can't wait. Because I lose words sometimes. Our enemies, and just
So this is Whose Heritage Community Action Guide. This is what they want, what they're instructing their people to do on how to remove our monuments. So across the South and beyond, Americans of all races, ethnicity, and creeds are asking why our country has so many symbols and memorials to honor the Confederacy, a government that made war against the United States to maintain human bondage of black people and uphold the anti-democratic and unjust system of white supremacy.
There's so much bull crap in that first paragraph.
It really is. I mean, first of all, 90% of the monuments say to our Confederate dead or to our glorious dead or something like that. To our
Confederate dead.
Yeah, I mean, that's a vast majority of them. It's not to a government. It is to the individual men or the collective group of men who went off to fight. Gives a history of things about removing flags and stuff like that.
Also, can we talk about just the fact that they act like the United States actually cared about the African American community? Like their plan wasn't just to ship them back to Africa or the multiple race riots that have happened because of African Americans not having civil rights. I'm done. All right.
Yeah. It's again, we are the low hanging fruit. But what can you do in your community? Removing symbols of the Confederacy from public spaces can be daunting, but with proper planning, you can launch a successful campaign. Tonight, we argue that indeed, with proper planning and looking at what they are planning and how they are planning it, we can launch a successful counter campaign. Because as Jason Boshier said, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something.
Which comment do you want from Jason?
If you wait until trouble arrives, it is difficult to swing the tide. And this is something that every camp, and we're going to be pushing this in Mississippi after the division, starts to do. So, go away. All right. Research the symbol. This is kind of what we talked about. Examine the history of the symbol in your community. You can conduct research online at the local library, university, or college, or historical society. The popular lore about why the symbol is displayed may not reflect the true history of how it got there. Historical markers and brochures for some symbols often reflect inaccurate history. Your website reflects an accurate history, but we continue on. Keep the following tips in mind. Go to records such as newspaper reports to get better understanding of the history and the motivation behind the display of the symbol. Well, if you go through the history and the motivation and look at it, you see that it was erected to honor the Confederate dead. Going to continue on, though.
I don't think they actually do research. I think they all get into a little square. They get into their peace square. They're, what do they call it?
I know what I would call it, but I can't say it on this one. I'll say it in the after show.
They get into their little safe zones and they talk about how it hurts them and why it hurts them. And that's their research. They get together and I can't say that word.
It's a y'all know what we're wanting to say. But we're arguing, facts against emotion is what it all boils down to. But we need to have our facts ready to go and present. Continue on to their bullet point number 2. If the symbol is the name of a figure from the Confederacy, research that person's history. Document why their legacy doesn't reflect justice and fairness. You should also document the person, people, organization responsible for the symbol's commission and display. There's some good stuff in that. If it's a monument to Robert E. Lee, have a good biography of Robert E. Lee, ready to go. If it is a monument to somebody in your particular state, and it's very specific, get as much information as you can, as well as on the history. Did the UDC give money to the monument? Did the women's, did the CFC, who actually paid for the monument and donated it? Have that ready to go. That is a good point. We need to have that ready as well.
Are they not? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they think we'd find it. Find out what.
I just think they're this cocky. I think they're just this cocky that they think we will find it.
No, I honestly think that we could talk about it more in the after show. But join Patreon to watch it. But I think that they are more, that they have such a negative view on us that we're just, blue collar hicks with barely a GED that we'd never know how to. We can't get on that there computer and Google stuff. But anyway, I digress. find out when the symbol was first displayed in your community. Many Confederate symbols began appearing after the U.S. Supreme Court's school desegregation ruling in 1954 and continued to appear in 1960 in protest of civil rights, as showed through this guide's companion report. Again, they use the term symbol to very loosely cover everything, whether it's a Confederate flag flying, in a town square, or whether it's, the fact that it was on a city or county seal or something like that. Confederate battle flags were raised on government property throughout the South to commemorate the war between the states centennial during the 1960s. If that turns out why the flag display on government properties in your community, don't let it stop your efforts. Find out why it continues to fly decades after the commemoration. Probably because we're in the 160th.
Yeah.
All right. Map the path to change. Whatever your efforts, goals, removal of a symbol from a site, renaming of an existing monument, placing of a marker alongside a symbol to contextualize and communicate accurate history, creating a mural or education wall for public art made by communities that tell accurate history, documenting the official process early is critical. Yeah. Find out what government body is responsible. Now this is a good point. Find out what government body is responsible for overseeing and maintaining the display. A lot of times, if a monument is in a courthouse square, there's question on who actually owns it. Is it the county or is it the city? The best friend that you can have is an app, is either like Onyx or Landglide or something like that, where you can literally zoom in and in most cases pull up the deed and it shows who's responsible, who owns it. It is a very good tool. If the symbol is the name of a city park, for example, the city council and mayor would be the parties to contact. If the space is a public school's name, the local school board would be the proper entity. An online search or call to your city hall, courthouse, or state legislature can point you in the right direction. Once you've determined the pertinent government body, ask about the process for removing the symbol. You might, for example, need to appear before your city council or county commission, or you might need to persuade your state legislature to sponsor a bill. A clear understanding of that process is crucial for streamlining a successful effort. Hey, we just talked about that earlier. It's the same thing. If they're doing it, we can do it. We need to be ready just as well as they are.
Amen.
Organize and raise awareness. After you conduct the research, it's important to build public support. Again, we've talked about this. Policymakers may be hesitant to remove the symbol if they believe there is no public demand for such action, or that we will raise the ire of the constituents, and as well they should be. You're an elected representative, and demonstrating public support for the symbol's removal can overcome this obstacle. Well, we just talked about it in what Jason said. Before where to go. Where'd it go? I need you to star that comment. I got it. All right. If you wait until trouble arrives, it is difficult to swing the tide. Start tonight. Start tonight. Apologize for that. Identify community groups and leaders that may support your effort. Enlisting these groups and individuals early can amplify your campaign. Same thing,
Honestly, they don't have a bad plan. They just are idiots.
Copy them. Their plan is essentially the same thing we've been preaching for years. It's just now we're seeing it that they're adopting our plan. If they're adopting our plan and we're not doing our plan, then we're gonna lose. Sorry, soapbox.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I've seen it over and over again where.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't shut up. But I'll say it like this: I've seen it where certain people have not acted, and they've waited until the trouble arrives, and we lose a piece of Confederate history, and then they blame Division, National, or whoever.
Yeah,
I've been blamed, and I'm over here telling you what to do.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you were talking about, or who you're talking about, rather. I digress back to where we were. But yeah, you can go ahead and identify group leaders that you think are going to be supportive of you as well, because these groups can contact their members and offer support in various ways, including signing onto a letter to the appropriate government body. Community groups you should consider should include faith-based organizations, civic clubs, labor unions, and advocacy groups. All right, I would say faith-based organizations, that's your church, civic clubs, that's the ones we've mentioned, and other veteran rights organizations. Research success stories in other communities and the process you must follow for removing the symbol. Okay, we have had several victories out of Georgia, several victories in other states. If you can't find somebody in your state that has or your division that has had success, contact a neighboring division. Use your Army resources. Use all the resources you have at your disposal. Make sure you're signed up for the the members only page on the national website, so that you can get into the discussion forums. We have the tools available. We have the people with the ability to help you with that. Write letters to your editor. Again, we can do that as well, but have that ready to plan. Contact your local media. We've talked about that. How to, you can use AI to write a press release, but make sure that your camp has somebody who is a spokesperson for the camp.
Yes.
Somebody who is well-spoken, who can, look professional, talk professional, and make a good argument. The Alabama division has a great spokesperson for them in Carl Jones.
He's all right.
He is. Build an email list of supporters. There you go.
Build a following on social media.
Yeah. I mean,
crap. That's next.
Use social media. Don't stop with just introducing the topic. Give them a reason to follow you on social media. Update with your progress. Set up a Facebook page and use it and other social media outlets to regularly provide facts from your research that show why the symbol should be removed. That's what they're saying. Well, you use it to show why the symbol should remain. Share success stories from other communities or other news related to your campaign. Work in connection and add followers via an email list. Make an email list. Develop an online petition. That one we can leave out. Organize a rally, a peaceful demonstration. And if the opposition organizes a rally, don't go.
Yes.
That's just trying to start trouble, especially if you and 5 friends go and they have 200 and we just have 6. That's going to make us look bad in the media. Instead, have your own rally and make sure you get people to the rally. If you've got a carpool, if you've got to rent a passenger van, if you've got to borrow the church bus, whatever you got to do, do it.
And let's point out that a lot of members that care about history are good farmers and working people. If you can't get them out to the rally, it might be best just to not have one. As Connor said, if you have 6 people show up, 20, 30, and the opposition had a rally last week and they had 500.
Yeah, I mean, work it the other way. At the same time, just like you said, a vast majority of our people are employed. And I'm not talking about just our membership, I'm talking about people in your community. They may be lawyers, doctors, professionals. They may be, teachers. They may be, steel plant workers, Nissan, or I say Nissan, they're not sponsoring us, but they may be car manufacturers, car salesmen, various walks of life that support us. Try to do it on a date and at a time that is convenient for almost everybody that can show up. Tuesday at 3:00 is not going to be convenient for me. It's not going to be convenient for Harrison. It's not going to be convenient for Forrest. But Saturday, 2 weeks from now, before the issue comes to a head and comes to a vote, I can make time, and that's the thing, advertise it well within your email list on your Facebook page. I can make time to plan to be there for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. Don't make it last all day, because that's going to deter people off. Make it last between figure out what your window of opportunity is, because we are competing for people's time.
Yes.
Make it visually interesting, make sure you've got, proper display, various flags that you can use. Y'all know what to do. But again, make sure your spokesperson has, you have a spokesperson there for the event. And, if you've got to, there's several of us that can help, prep for delivering the message. But that's what they're talking about doing. Then contacting policy supporters. These can be policymakers with government body that has the authority to remove the symbol. So what they're saying is, invite your legislature and stuff like that, your city council, whomever. If they're definitely on your side and they're not afraid to show up, invite them. But, don't get your heart broken if they don't show up.
Yeah.
And then, officially make your case. They're going to talk about, your spokesperson needs to go up there and go before the governing body and stuff like that. Use your research as the basics for clear and concise facts. Be prepared for other speakers and policymakers to oppose your efforts. Your presentation should include historical facts to counter objections and stuff like that. So,
wouldn't it be great if we had a position that's almost their job?
Yeah.
But
wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if we have something like their list of responding to objections and myths?
Right here, guys.
Yeah.
And again, we do have a position: Heritage Officer on the camp level, Chief of Heritage Ops on the division, Army, and National.
I'm going to start because I just found this in research of this episode. Earlier today. I'm going to go through this, and oh god, it's the cornerstone speech again.
Not again.
Yeah, go through all this stuff, and yeah. But I'm going to go through this, and
I can't wait to tear this apart.
Yeah, and tear it apart. That's a whole nother episode right there.
Next week?
Yeah, probably. There's a good one.
See. Yeah, we'll see.
There's a good one. That deals with school mascots. This is the big one right here. My ancestor bravely served. I did have an answer to this one. First served in the Confederacy in the war. He didn't own slaves. He's just defending his home. Removing this symbol disrespects him and the ancestors and of others in this community. The issue isn't about personal motivation of one soldier. It's clear that as a government, the monument's not to the government. The monument is to the individual soldiers of this community who went to war, fought, came back wounded, or didn't come back at all. I mean,
yeah, that one is okay.
Yeah.
God bless them.
Yeah. Well, no.
Oh no! Sometimes I see something so stupid and so just air in the head. I have to say it. Maybe they'll get some intelligence and stop trying to destroy history. I know that's not the case. I know that because of what has happened with this culture war, we have lost a generation of people that do not care about history and just want to destroy it. We've lost a whole generation.
Hey, Lloyd, at least y'all get the chance to testify.
Yeah, we don't.
But here's the thing, though. We're going to and of course, Lloyd being a former member, I believe, member of the House up there. You have a little bit of that. You've got a little bit more sway, but we're about to start developing that. We're going to be building up our credentials, sending emails, stuff like that, at least on the Mississippi Division level, so that if we have to come up and testify, we can be called as an expert witness. That's something that we are actively going to be doing. Now looking at the fact that we have the enemy's battle plan in our hands, and once you put something online, it'll never go away. I've already printed it in PDF, ready to go, just in case they see this episode and they try to take it down. So yeah,
bring it on.
So, yeah, that's the thing. We have the enemy's plan. The enemy's plan is just like our plan. And if they're doing it, if they are being effective and doing it in their communities, why aren't we? Why can't we be? It's just like Todd said out of California. Don't let your membership just be a certificate and a membership card and a lapel pin. Get active.
Involved. I mean, it's past time to get active. It's past time to be doing this.
Yeah.
Because if we don't now, these attacks are only going to get worse.
If not who? Yeah, or if not us.
Who?
If not now.
When?
Yeah.
And I mean, we make that's one of my favorite sayings because, again, these are only going to get worse. They're talking about how 2020, 2017, and 2015 wasn't good enough for them. And we got massively hurt as an organization, as a people, as our heritage as a whole. If it's only going to get worse, people, we're past time of needing to act.
Yeah, and they're definitely pulling back and punting.
Oh, yeah, they're getting ready for something.
I mean, and it's maybe it's the trying to get that 1699 in every other state. Try to get it passed in Virginia, get it passed in North Carolina, and get it passed in other states so that, and Jason did say that the conservatives have control of the House in North Carolina or the legislature in North Carolina. Yeah, you know what? So did Mississippi in 2020.
1 second.
But we still lost our flag.
Yeah, so do we have in Mississippi. By the way, how many big massive attacks have there been on Confederate heritage, Connor? 3?
Hold on. I'm sending you a private message about what I think you were stopping about. Anyway, what'd you say, Harrison?
Sorry. I'm not even going to say it. We'll talk about it on the after show. Yeah. That's my bad. So how many big, massive Confederate attacks have there been?
When you say massive, are you talking about
2020
in my mind.
2020 for me was a massive attack.
So really, Paul Gramling Jr. Talks about the 1993 resolution that the all Confederate symbols and things like that should be removed, not even in museums, but completely destroyed, and that portion of history erased. So since let's just use 93 as a starting point. Taking the flag off the dome at the South Carolina State House, the changing of the Georgia flag, the attempted change of the Mississippi flag, various other small ones, 2015, 2017, 2020, is what I would consider major in my mind.
Don't you think it's about time that, when those attacks come, we barely feel it?
Well, it's time for when those attacks come. We are ready. We have the enemy's battle plan. We are ready to. I mean, it's just like to go back and link it back in the war. September of 1862, Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia is marching into Maryland to free that state from the Yankee throat and tyranny. You remember that the Maryland legislature was being held. Or members of the Maryland legislature were being held without the writ of habeas corpus, held illegally by the Lincoln administration. I digress, though. He goes into Maryland, and his general orders for that campaign were lost. And George B. McClellan got those orders, got a hand on those orders, and he had everything that Lee was going to do. Troop movements, troop locations, all of that stuff, and yet McClellan chose to not follow up with having those orders and concentrating and attacking and stuff like that, and led to the battle of Sharpsburg. Essentially, we're now in McClellan's hands. We have the enemy plans in our hands. We know what they're doing. Now it's time for us to counteract. We see what they're doing. Now it's time for us to outflank them. Thank you, Brian. That is exactly correct. Now it's time for us to take it, look at it. We see what they're doing. Now it's time to take it and morph it for a pro-Southern, pro-Confederate point of view.
Pick your character.
Yeah, no kidding. And in some cases in Mississippi, you can't tell the difference between which one's evil and which one's stupid. Depends on the day of the week. My views and opinions.
I wish you were lying. I wish this whole episode was just an April Fool's joke we threw on everybody.
But it's the truth. I mean,
it's honest truth.
We've lived it and we've seen it. Now the other thing, it's time for Southerners to stand up. I mean, that's why we asked y'all to share this episode out, or share all of our episodes out, so that potentially we can reach people besides just our members and talk to our members. This is for everybody in the South, everybody who cares about Confederate history and heritage. You want to get involved. You want to make sure your monument stays where it is to your ancestors, or defend the South, defend Southern culture, Southern history, the things that make us a unique and our identity and our unique people. Then step one is contact your local SCV camp. Find out if, we will help you find your ancestor. If not, we have the Friends of the SCV. If not, we have the Confederate Legion. If not, there are multiple ways for you to get involved.
There's not an excuse anymore.
It's that would be step one for you, the non-member that's liking what we're saying, hearing what we're saying, and agrees with what we're saying. If that's the case, great. If not, just be prepared to stand with us when it comes time for the organization, or not the organization, but when our history and heritage is under attack in your community, stand with us. Be prepared. If you want to try to make an introduction between your club and our club, make the call. That's all you have to do.
That's all you have to do, people. And that's a start of fighting and preserving our history.
Yeah. Just and for us that are in the organization, we have their plan. We read through their plan, and we've talked about our plan, which is the same thing as their plan, just with a different, wanting outcome. Step one, form a community outreach committee and start reaching out to the other organizations.
Mm-hmm.
If you have somebody who's the master of the local Masonic Lodge, great. President of the local Rotary Club, great. Secretary of the Exchange Club, great. Have them start reaching out into their other civic organizations and get them involved. Everybody, pretty much everybody goes to church. We all don't go to church together. I mean, that is the first that is the first thing that that you need to do. Then second thing, form another committee. Guy, every camp has a guy who likes to do research.
Yeah.
Go research what your local county monument, find out who, when, where, why. We know why it was dedicated, but who paid for it? When was it dedicated? Everything like that. Who owns the property? Who maintains the property? All that. Have it ready to go. Form a committee on legislative outreach on your division level, your brigade level, and on your camp level. Be prepared to, on behalf of the camp, write a letter, asking for support on this, or I don't know, you getting the camp, members to send 2 emails a year or 2 letters a year, whatever we have to do. It's like Carl's saying, imagine if 5,000 people in each state who weren't members were willing to write just 2 letters on our behalf. Heck, print the letters and just have them sign it.
Yeah.
Have it ready to go. I think stamps are 65 cents a piece now. That is worth the cause. That's the next thing. And, build, I mean, just like at Fredericksburg, guys, Mary's Heights, Lee, defend, because of Barksdale's Mississippians holding the Federals back, Lee was able to, entrench, make sure you had good interior lines, build your interior lines because the attack is coming. It may be a bill to try to take one of our bullets out of our cartridge boxes, the financial bullet, because it may be that. It may be actually coming after your monument. But as my late father used to say, piss poor planning equals piss poor performance.
Yeah. Piss poor planning equals piss poor performance. If that ain't some truth, I don't know what is. And I'm just tired of seeing it. I mean, I know that's going to piss some people off because I know we have a lot of hardworking people, and
we do,
and y'all are doing great,
right? And it's again, we've had some great victories. We're seeing the slowdown, but they're amping up. Again, back to the historical comparison.
Are we going to be caught with our pants down again?
Yeah, we have whooped them.
Yeah,
they have retreated to Washington. They are about to come out of the city, though.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's time. So please share this episode out. Let's get it to as many people as possible. Like, comment, subscribe, follow. Do whatever you can.
Share, join our Patreon.
Yeah, join our Patreon would be awesome. $10 a month.
Buy a t-shirt.
Don't get the Moosehead Book Club one.
We don't have that one.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't mean Moosehead Book. I meant the deadgum stupid moose hunt one. I don't want to get shot. Unless you want to shoot me with a Nerf gun, don't buy that t-shirt. If you want to shoot me with a Nerf gun, first off, I'm deeply hurt.
Not as bad as you'll be when you get shot with a Nerf gun.
This is true. This is very true.
I got a question for you.
I'm scared. All right.
What are you doing tomorrow night?
I'm gonna watch Look Around Florida with Sean McFall.
Florida man. What time's it come on?
7 p.m. Confederate Standard Time.
What are you doing Friday night? Excuse me. What are you doing Thursday night?
This Thursday, it will be time for Commander's Comments. So join as we get an update from the National SCV on what National has been doing from Commander-in-Chief Donnie Kennedy and our Chief of Heritage Ops and our past Chief of Heritage Ops, Ron Kennedy.
What you doing Friday night?
I think I'm going to sit back and watch some Friday Night Lights.
It's not football season. Well, you know what you should do? You should be checking out David Pope and the Friends of Douglas Southall Freeman.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'd have a better time watching that anyway. It's been a long day, David. I tried. It's been a long day, David. I'm fired up. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Hadn't eaten anything all day. What can I say, David? I ain't got anything right now to defend that. Everybody go watch David's program.
Try, David. And, of course, on Sunday night, we have Michael Hardy's History Talk. So make sure to tune in on him. Oh, hey, I got another question for you.
Okay, senor.
What Confederate commander kept his army in the field for 6 weeks after the surrender at Appomattox? Tune in next week to find out. And in the words of the late and great Harold Philpott, remember, no Fumar in the elevator.
Yeah, no Fumar in the elevator.
Join our Patreon. Thank you to all of our patrons for joining. And dang it, Harrison, you didn't add Alan on there.
When did Alan join?
Or excuse me, Andrew. Excuse me.
Andrew Luck is on there.
Is he?
Yeah. Yeah, he is right before, or he's right after Ronnie.
Oh, I see him.